Picture it, a beautiful lake house deep in the East Texas piney woods. Cypress trees dripping over dark, still water, a private dock, a porch made for morning coffee. And the price? Shockingly cheap. Tens of thousands less than it should be. You scroll the listings and think, why is nobody buying this? It looks like the deal of a lifetime. But here's the thing, the locals know something you don't. Across 10 different East Texas lakes, gorgeous homes sit unsold for months, prices dropping and dropping, while buyers quietly walk away. It isn't ghosts, it isn't a curse. The truth is far more unsettling and completely real. Stick with me, hit that subscribe button, and let me take you lake by lake through the dark secret they don't want you to know. Number 10. Lake Fork. We begin at a lake that fishermen speak about in almost holy tones. Lake Fork, the legendary bass fishing capital of Texas. Covering nearly 27,690 acres with 315 miles of shoreline, Lake Fork holds records for an astonishing 34 of the top 50 largest bass ever caught in the state. If you love fishing, this is heaven on earth. And here's the tempting part. You can find genuinely affordable options here. I found a lakefront park home listed for around $78,000 to $80,000. A real waterfront place for the price of a nice truck. With nearly 300 listings on the lake, the deals are out there. So what's the catch? The dark secret keeping buyers away? Look closer at that cheap listing and you'll often find the words lease takeover and an annual fee. That's the first trap. Many of the cheapest homes on Lake Fork aren't on land you actually own. They're park models or homes on leased lots, meaning you own the structure but rent the ground beneath it, forever. When the lease ends or the fee jumps, your cheap dream can evaporate. On top of that, Lake Fork is a managed fishing reservoir, with strict rules, standing timber left in the water for the bass, and water levels controlled by the Water Authority, not by what's convenient for homeowners. This is why savvy buyers pause. That $78,000 price looks incredible until you realize you may never own the land, and the lake answers to a water district, not to you. Always confirm whether you're buying the land or just leasing it, and get the exact annual lease and fee terms in writing. Lake Fork's secret is ownership, but our next lake hides something far more dangerous, under the water itself. Number 9. Lake Palestine. Next, we travel to Lake Palestine, a sprawling, beautiful reservoir near Tyler and Bullard in the heart of East Texas. With over 500 listings at any given time and around 270 lake homes typically for sale, it's one of the most active lake markets in the region, and one where patient buyers can find real value below the premium waterfront prices. You'll see the flashy listings first. Open waterfront estates for $899,900 with brand new pools. But scroll past those, and you'll find the affordable water view and off-water homes, plus older properties priced to move in a market flooded with inventory. And that's the first clue to the dark secret here, the sheer volume of homes for sale. When you see hundreds and hundreds of listings sitting on one lake, month after month, ask yourself, why are so many people trying to leave? Part of the answer is the classic East Texas lake problem. These are remote properties relying on private wells and septic systems, not city utilities. A failing septic near a lake isn't just a few $100s. A full drain field replacement runs into the thousands, and it can contaminate the very water you moved there for. The other part is simple oversupply. When a lake has this many homes for sale, prices soften, values stagnate, and the home you buy today may be worth less in a few years, the opposite of what most buyers expect from waterfront property. Demand a septic inspection and a water quality test before making any offer, and study how long comparable homes have actually been sitting on the market. Lake Palestine's secret is oversupply and hidden utility costs, but our next lake's secret is something no inspection can fix, because it comes from upstream. Number 8. Sam Rayburn Reservoir. Now we reach the largest lake entirely within Texas, the mighty Sam Rayburn Reservoir, a deep woods paradise in the piney woods near Jasper and Brookland, with hundreds of homes for sale, nearly 400 in some searches. Big Sam is a fishing and boating legend, and it draws dreamers from all over. The prices can be wonderfully tempting. I found homes here starting around $185,000 to $234,000, and dig into the older, off-water, or fixer-upper listings and you'll find far cheaper. For a home on a lake this size and this famous, those are genuinely attractive numbers. So what's the dark secret? Sam Rayburn is a flood control reservoir that is literally one of its primary jobs. It exists in part to absorb massive rainfall and protect the region downstream. That means its water level is deliberately allowed to swing dramatically. In a wet year, the lake can rise fast and swallow low-lying docks, yards, and even homes. In a dry year, it can drop so far that your waterfront becomes a long, muddy walk to a distant shoreline. Imagine buying a cheap house right at the water's edge, thrilled with your view, then watching the lake rise several feet in a rainy spring and lap at your foundation, or fall so low that boats can't even launch. The people who live here know this rhythm. Newcomers chasing a cheap price often don't. Ask specifically about the lake's normal, flood, and drought elevations, and find out exactly how high above the water the property sits. On a flood control lake, that number is everything. Sam Rayburn's secret is the swinging water. Our next lake takes that danger to a genuinely terrifying level. Number 7. Caddo Lake. Now, we arrive at the most hauntingly beautiful lake in all of Texas, mystical Caddo Lake, with its ancient, towering cypress trees dripping with Spanish moss and its labyrinth of dark, maze-like bayous. It looks like something from a fantasy film, and homes and cabins here can be found at genuinely modest prices, tucked among the trees. But Caddo's beauty hides a chilling secret, and the data spells it out plainly. In April 2024, catastrophic flooding sent roads and structures underwater all around Caddo Lake. At one point, the lake sat half a foot above flood stage, drowning low-lying areas of the state park and surrounding communities. Local reporting describes how the flood broke all the rules, submerging areas long thought to be safe, high ground. Here's the heartbreaking human detail I found. Near the aptly named community of Uncertain, Texas, floods drowned land that people genuinely believed was safe, and a local resident pointed out the deeper problem, that developers left cabins built directly in flood zones, and predictably, it flooded in the flood zones. That's the dark secret of Caddo. Those cheap, romantic cypress cabins are often cheap precisely because they sit in areas that flood. The magic of building right on the mysterious water is the same thing that puts your home underwater when the rains come. Before you buy, pull the property's flood history and flood zone designation before you fall in love with it. On Caddo, high ground is not always as high as it looks. Caddo Lake's secret is the flood that breaks all the rules. But our next lake's secret isn't the water rising, it's the water disappearing. Number 6. Lake o' the Pines. Deep in the northeastern piney woods lies serene Lake o' the Pines, a quiet, forested reservoir beloved by fishermen and families for generations. With around 60-plus listings on the lake, you can find affordable homes and cabins here, well below the prices of the trendier Texas lakes. But there's a shadow hanging over Lake o' the Pines, and it's one of the most unsettling secrets on this entire list. There have been active proposals to sell and pump the lake's water away. Quick pause. If this lake-by-lake truth is opening your eyes to what these deals really hide, please hit subscribe and ring the bell. This channel exists to tell you the things other people won't, and your support genuinely keeps it going. Thank you. Now back to the water. Here's what happened. A proposal emerged to pull massive amounts of water out of Lake o' the Pines to supply distant cities. Residents were so alarmed they held town halls and organized under the banner, "Save the Lakes," warning that draining the lake could devastate water levels, the ecosystem, and their property values. One resident half-joked that the fight was dramatic enough for a Taylor Sheridan TV series called Water Rights. There was relief when a North Texas water board eventually dropped one plan to buy the water. Locals celebrated, "We saved our lakes." But the very fact that it keeps coming up is the dark secret. Would you sink your savings into a lakefront home when powerful agencies periodically eye your lake's water for removal? Research the current status of any water sale or water rights disputes affecting the specific lake. Lake o' the Pines' secret is the fight over its water, and our next lake carries that exact same fear. Number 5. Toledo Bend. Now we reach the enormous Toledo Bend Reservoir, straddling the Texas-Louisiana border, one of the largest man-made lakes in the entire country, and a genuine bargain hunter's frontier. The affordability here is real and dramatic. On Toledo Bend, you can find lots for as little as $12,000, and while nice waterfront homes climb to $400,000 or $500,000, the sheer range means deals exist for almost any budget, with price cuts of $30,000 appearing regularly. It sounds like paradise for the frugal dreamer. So what's the dark secret keeping buyers away? The same water fear we just saw, but in the buyer's own words. I found a would-be purchaser who said plainly that they'd been looking to buy property on Toledo Bend, but with the water sale talks going on, they were almost afraid to pull the trigger. That fear is the secret. When the people who want to buy are openly scared to, prices drop and homes sit. Toledo Bend is a managed hydroelectric and water supply reservoir, meaning its levels are controlled for power generation and water sales, not for the convenience of homeowners. Add in the remoteness. This is deep, rural border country, far from big city hospitals and services, the private well and septic reality, and the ever-present flood and drawdown swings, and you understand why those $12,000 lots stay unsold. Investigate how the lake's levels are managed, the status of any water sales, and honestly assess how far you'll be from essential services. For someone who does their homework, Toledo Bend can be a genuine steal, but only with eyes wide open. Toledo Bend's secret is fear and remoteness. Our next lake secret is the one that empties wallets fastest of all. Number 4. Cedar Creek Lake. Heading closer to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we reach popular Cedar Creek Lake, a huge, lively reservoir surrounded by communities like Gun Barrel City and Mabank. Being within easy reach of a major metro makes it one of the most in-demand East Texas lakes, and yet, the bargains are striking. Realtor listings show hundreds of homes for sale under $100,000 here, even as the overall median listing price sits near $395,000. That gap is a giant flashing clue. Why are there so many cheap homes on a lake this desirable? The dark secret at Cedar Creek is a combination that quietly crushes budgets: flood risk, permits, taxes, and insurance. Local real estate experts openly warn buyers to carefully check flood risk, permits, taxes, and rental rules before purchasing waterfront here. Because Cedar Creek is desirable and close to the metro, its property taxes and assessed values run high, and a higher assessed value means a bigger tax bill every single year. Stack on the elevated waterfront insurance and flood insurance, and that cheap $95,000 lake house can cost more per month to hold than a far larger home inland. There's also a persistent local concern about certain older or rougher neighborhoods around the lake. Residents on community forums openly debate whether specific areas are good or bad. The cheapest homes often cluster exactly where those concerns are highest. Get the full annual picture: property tax, homeowners insurance, and flood insurance combined before you're seduced by the sticker price, and research the specific neighborhood carefully. Cedar Creek's secret is the crushing cost of ownership, but our final 3 lakes hide the darkest secret of all, the one that has already destroyed homes. Number 3. Lake Conroe. Now we come to a lake sitting right on the doorstep of Houston, the hugely popular Lake Conroe, nestled beside the towns of Conroe and Montgomery. Because it's so close to a major city, this lake is a magnet for dreamers, and affordable listings do exist here. Older homes, off-water properties, and fixer-uppers sit well below the premium waterfront estates. But when you see cheap prices on a lake, this desirable and this convenient, you need to stop and ask why. And the answer is a dark secret that revealed itself to the entire world in 2024. In May 2024, in the middle of relentless storms, the Lake Conroe Dam was forced to release massive amounts of water, at one point pushing out 69,545 cubic feet per second. Downstream, residents living along the San Jacinto River were told to prepare for significant flooding. In nearby Polk County, more than 700 homes went underwater. One local said goodbye to their lake home in real time, watching the water creep across the patio and into the house within minutes. Here's the part most buyers never understand. Lake Conroe's dam gates can release up to 150,000 cubic feet per second. That's the hidden cost of living on a controlled, dam-managed lake. When heavy rain comes, the people who manage the dam have to make a brutal choice: protect the lake or protect the homes downstream. And when that choice is made, your affordable dream home can become a total loss overnight. The water is beautiful, the location is unbeatable, but cheap land near a working flood control dam is never truly cheap. It's a gamble against the next big storm. If this video is opening your eyes, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps the channel grow. Number 2. Lake Livingston. We stay on giant Lake Livingston for our number 2, because this lake hides 2 distinct dark secrets, and the second one traps buyers just as often as the flooding. Beyond the dam release danger, Lake Livingston is infamous for 2 more quiet money drains that the cheap listings conveniently leave out: leased lots and brutal insurance. First, the leased land. Just like Lake Fork, a surprising number of the cheapest homes on Lake Livingston aren't on property you actually own. They sit on leased or subdivision lots with ongoing annual fees and rules. That $50,000 steal can come with the fine print that you own the walls but rent the earth, and lease terms can change, jump in price, or end, leaving buyers stunned. Second, the insurance reality. This is a large, flood-prone lake near Houston, one of the most flood-battered regions in America. Waterfront homes here carry higher homeowners insurance plus often mandatory flood insurance. And after the 2024 disaster, those costs are only under more pressure. On top of Texas homeowners insurance already averaging around $3,500 a year, flood coverage piles on hundreds or thousands more every year with no end. I came across real Texans forced to sell homes they loved purely because rising taxes and insurance made staying impossible. That's the quiet tragedy hiding behind the cheap price. You can afford to buy the house, but slowly discover you can't afford to keep it. Confirm in writing whether you own the land. Get every fee in writing and obtain an actual insurance and flood insurance quote before you commit, not after. Lake Livingston's second secret is the cost of holding on. Now, for the lake that ties every dark secret together. Number 1. Lake Bob Sandlin. And finally, we arrive at number 1. A quiet East Texas gem that most people outside the region have never even heard of. Lake Bob Sandlin, near the small town of Pittsburgh in northeast Texas. This is where the numbers get genuinely surprising. Right now there are well over 170 active listings around this lake, and while some waterfront homes climb towards $799,000, the affordable end is where the real story is. You can find a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home with over 2,000 square feet listed around $135,000. Another home nearby sits at roughly $149,000. For an actual lake community in Texas, those prices feel almost impossible. So what's the catch? Because on a lake this pretty, there's always a catch. Lake Bob Sandlin is remote. Pittsburgh is a small town, and the surrounding area has limited jobs, limited services, and long drives for major shopping, specialized healthcare, or a big city airport. The cheapest homes are often the older ones, properties that may need serious work, sitting off the water rather than directly on it, with aging septic systems, older wells, and foundations that have quietly settled over decades. And like every lake we've covered today, the low sticker price hides the real cost of ownership: insurance, maintenance on a waterfront adjacent property, and the reality that when you buy remote, you're buying a lifestyle, not just a house. Reselling can take time when the buyer pool is small. But for the right person, someone chasing peace, water, and space without a big city price tag, Lake Bob Sandlin might just be the closest thing to an affordable Texas lake dream that still exists in 2026. If you made it all the way to number 1, hit subscribe. You're exactly the kind of person these quiet, overlooked places are made for. And finally, we arrive at number 1. A quiet East Texas gem that most people outside the region have never even heard of. Lake Bob Sandlin, near the small town of Pittsburgh in northeast Texas. This is where the numbers get genuinely surprising. Right now there are well over 170 active listings around this lake, and while some waterfront homes climb towards $799,000, the affordable end is where the real story is. You can find a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home with over 2,000 square feet listed around $135,000. Another home nearby sits at roughly $149,000. For an actual lake community in Texas, those prices feel almost impossible. So what's the catch? Because on a lake this pretty, there's always a catch. Lake Bob Sandlin is remote. Pittsburgh is a small town, and the surrounding area has limited jobs, limited services, and long drives for major shopping, specialized healthcare, or a big city airport. The cheapest homes are often the older ones, properties that may need serious work, sitting off the water rather than directly on it, with aging septic systems, older wells, and foundations that have quietly settled over decades. And like every lake we've covered today, the low sticker price hides the real cost of ownership: insurance, maintenance on a waterfront adjacent property, and the reality that when you buy remote, you're buying a lifestyle, not just a house. Reselling can take time when the buyer pool is small. But for the right person, someone chasing peace, water, and space without a big city price tag, Lake Bob Sandlin might just be the closest thing to an affordable Texas lake dream that still exists in 2026. If you made it all the way to number 1, hit subscribe. You're exactly the kind of person these quiet, overlooked places are made for.